Mike Begum, or Brolylegs, is a professional Street Fighter V player. I had met him, geez, maybe about 4 months ago. I had reached out to him just to see if he would be interested in having a conversation with me based around Street Fighter game mechanics. Mike is in a pretty unique situation for a player. He was born with a physical disability called arthrogryposis, which really inhibits his ability to play the game effectively. His muscular growth was sort of halted in several places, which results in a limited range of motion for playing games. So that's a little bit of what our conversation was geared around um, for this short excerpt that I'm going to be showing you. So yeah, I hope you enjoy.
Started playing video games since I was the age of 2. My parents got it for me as a birthday gift, not knowing what I could do. I've been disabled since birth. I have arthrogryposis, which is basically a birth condition. It's a muscle condition that the muscle didn't really grow to what the average person does. So I wasn't able to use my limbs, my arms, not fully. I mean, I can move and I can, you know, kind of grip here and there, but not really. So it kind of left me at a disadvantage physically, not being able to walk, not being able to grab the controller. So my parents got this for me just to see what I could do because I wasn't again paralyzed, and started playing at the age of 2 with Super Mario Bros. 3. Using my face, my face was on the controller most of the time. Um, was able to hold down the D pad or directional pad for with my wrist, my left wrist, and needed to stop the controller from moving away from me. So I put my face on it, and it was only 2 buttons back in the time. So I started playing like that.
And you
And
sort of figured all that out at a pretty early age, just how like
yeah,
the most ideal setup would be for you.
yeah. Like I kind of learned it all just on the fly. I mean, it wasn't really. I mean, it was such a uh, it was such a young age that I wasn't really thinking about it all like, what was the best way or optimal. I was just
Right.
trying to figure it out, just to play. And so yeah, that's I've been playing since I was 2, and was really fascinated with gaming and how to like just beat games in general. It always pushed me, mainly because I couldn't do physical activity like most kids. They go to PE, go to the gym. Was able to do sports or activities, maybe even band. I couldn't do any of that stuff. So I was really excited and thought it was such an awesome idea of my parents to get me video games, and that's what I usually got for Christmas for birthdays was something electronic, whether it's something useful to learn or just gaming in general. I found something that I can do,
Right.
and I started playing competitively when Super Smash Bros. Melee came out in 2001, but I didn't enter tournaments until about 2004, 2005. Um, Me and my brother Jonathan, who's a couple years younger than me, um, we played against each other. We always had these competitions against each other. Always wanted to see who was the best, and we decided to take it into competitions. Started traveling to Houston, to San Antonio. Back when I was living in Brownsville, these are 4 to 5 to 6 hour road trips
Yeah.
to these
Yeah.
tournaments. And so we started at a really young age. I was around 16 when I started. My brother was around 13, and we were just, having fun. And I kept up with it until Street Fighter 4. Smash Bros. Melee was such a different fighting game compared to traditional fighting games when you got your inputs, you got your health bars, and things like that. So I had to really learn going to a new console, going to a new traditional fighter, using different inputs. Um, But yeah, I got the hang of it. Learned about the community. Got to hang out with people there. Made new friends with the community. Playing Street Fighter and being able to travel with that game, and took on the moniker Brolylegs. I was first Broly, and then a friend of mine entered me in the tournament as Brolylegs when these two famous pro players were out there as a joke. And so when they interviewed me for that video, they called me that, Brolylegs.
Mhm.
And I decided, well, I might as well just keep the name because that's what they know me for, and that's what the internet kind of just knew me as. That's where
That's
all
what
the
they're gonna get
articles
to
are
know
coming
me
out.
as now. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was
Um,
fun, but yeah, that's pretty much basic history of where I was and how I started, and hopefully continue on as much as I can in Street Fighter Five.
yeah, just to rewind a little bit, you started playing Melee competitive around 2004 and 2005.
Yeah,
That's like super early for the
yeah,
competitive scene.
yeah,
Um,
it was. Yeah, just to share about that scene a little bit. I mean, this is before streaming. This is when forums were big. We were just posting on forums. There was no YouTube, or there was very little YouTube back then. There was no video recordings. Like there is one video of me playing early on. It's like the first video, and you don't even see me. You just see a crowd, and you see like a little TV monitor that shows like the two characters fighting against each other, and
right.
it's me against someone else, but you don't even see me at all in that video. And um, yeah, it's just it's one of those times where camaraderie was such a big thing. Getting to know people was such a big thing. This is before social media and all that stuff,
Right.
and it really kind of pushed me to like really get to know people and show me like I really really like this. I really enjoy competing, and so yeah, that's where the first stepping stone of my competitive career was.
Yeah, I mean, if we talk about games, I mean, we had a little bit of a chance to talk about this a couple weeks ago in regard to League of Legends, but fighting games like Super Smash Bros. Melee with wave dashing and L canceling, Street Fighter with its different inputs, those are all really complex commands and folks who have full range of motion of their body have trouble, inputting them. So, how did you sort of teach yourself to be able to accommodate these different control schemes?
Well, at first it was I couldn't do any of the crazy stuff. Like in Smash Brothers, all the like any kind of controller back in the day. Any kind of controller with bumpers on it, like L and R, or anything that was on top of the controller that was not on the face of the controller, I couldn't press. I couldn't play. The way I styled my control, my playing was that I kept my wrist on the joystick and my face on the buttons. I wasn't that's all I could play. And so competitively, I was at a very big disadvantage back in the day. I couldn't even shield. I couldn't even wave dash. I couldn't shield. I couldn't grab. And so those were really, really big disadvantages.
Mhm.
And so no one really thought, well, yeah, he's good at spacing and he knows how to attack with his character, but he's never going to go that far. Not in this kind of game. And I was able to place, that first major, I was able to place fourth place and beat one of the guys that was going to all the MLGs and going to those big tournaments back in the day where
Right.
you fight for money, and he was like top five in the PR list or whatever of the state, and so this was such a big thing. So many top players there were so surprised that like, how is he able to place that high without even these buttons, these defensive mechanics that are like really really useful.
Right.
And so I took pride in that in the beginning. I really enjoyed knowing that I could play at that level, that I can play without, even with the disadvantage physically, even with the disadvantage in the game, I was able to compete at a high level. Then things changed when I went to high school, I mean, to college, because all the TV monitors, like, we would go in between classes, we would go into the student union, and there was like monitors or TVs, but they were up on the wall. And so I had to look up from my chair and I couldn't play the way
Right.
I used to. So I learned a different style where I put the whole controller on my wrist I'd use my face for everything. I'd use my face for the control stick. I'd use my face for the button so I can look up higher. But that allowed me to use the bumpers. So now I could use the defense. So my game kind of changed. My style kind of changed over time and adjusted while playing. Being competitive. And yeah, there was like a little bit of a drawback just because it was so new that I started losing a little bit more because it was new. But in the end, it gave me something to work towards, so that in the future I could start playing with full control and use one of the bumpers. And that kind of helped me a lot, in later on in my career, especially in the fighting game.
I mean, you started playing at tournaments at a pretty young age in a highly competitive environment. Was it at all intimidating for you? I mean, you're just going to these tournaments with your brother. You have folks thinking that you're not going to go very far in bracket because of your disability. I mean, what was it like sort of integrating into the competitive video game scene?
Well, I never thought that way with when it came to like knowing I was gonna place bad or anything. I was always like super competitive. Like we had a local scene in early melee, and I was probably maybe like top four in the city, maybe top four, top five. My brother was a little better than me. There was other players that were better than me, and but I always went in every week thinking I could win. Like I always, I never questioned myself or my ability to win. I never really went in and entered saying, "Oh, I'm gonna lose. Who cares?" Like I legit always was reminding myself like, hey, I can win this. Even though I never did, I still told myself every single tournament, yeah, I can win this. And so anytime that I lost, I just said, well, I'll come back stronger. I know
Right.
what to work on, and always tried to improve myself. So I was never really intimidated. Like, it was once I started playing, once that first match started, I was locked in. I was able to just go in tournament mode and, be competitive and focus on the game, focus on what I need to do, matchups, all the things that I've learned, and apply it in every tournament situation that I was in. Um, it was like, like I had to learn. There would be adjustments. I had to talk to TOs before tournaments, tell them, because what I used to do is go to a TO or go to the tournament, um, ask the TO if there was a table that I can lay on, because I couldn't walk, so like
Right.
friends of mine would have to carry me onto the table, and basically I would just be at one setup, and players would come to me, play in my setup, and wherever I was, situated, and I would pretty much be there the whole tournament. I would be on that table, um, watching matches, playing matches, playing against people. Like, it was just very different because I did have a wheelchair back then, an electrical one that I could move with, but I couldn't take it anywhere because the best way to go to tournaments was to fit 5, 6 people in a small car and drive for 6 hours in the middle of the night. That was our way of playing. That was our way
Right.
of competing and traveling.
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
how you and I grew up in esports. Is everyone piles in, we drive to a
yep,
local about 4 hours away. There's no real, large venues or streaming services
right,
like that.
right. And it's kind of like, unfortunately, it's kind of dying off a little bit. I mean, at least for me, when it came to lately, like maybe the past 5 years, we haven't really done that. Everything's gone online. If it's not an hour away, we don't really want to go, or if the pricing isn't right, we don't want to go, kind
Mm,
of thing. Which is unfortunate, but yeah, back in the day, we did it. We didn't even care about money. We didn't care about winning. I mean, we just wanted to go and prove ourselves competitively. We just wanted to be the best. I wanted to be the best. And so, yeah, traveling was a lot tougher back then, and the experience really shaped me into who I am today because I still believe in that, even no matter where I go, no matter who I play against or whatever. I'm always thinking, how to win, and I don't think about anything else. I'm not never intimidated or scared. And then once it's all over, then it's like, oh, finally got that out of the way, and now I can enjoy the event and have casual matches and things like that. So yeah, it's just it was a really fun time back then, just being able to travel and get to meet a lot of new faces and a lot of new players.
Absolutely. And I think even with the mentality we were talking about earlier, every single match I'm going to win, every tournament I go to, I'm placing first. I think even if, like you said, you're not placing first at these tournaments, I think if folks have that mentality going in, they're going to end up placing a lot higher than they would be otherwise. I know you do a lot of coaching as well outside of competing. Is this like a common barrier that folks experience when they're learning from you?
Well, kind of. I mean, the first thing that I really teach people and influence them and tell them is that if they have a local scene, go to it. And I always encourage them to because a lot of these players, like they want to learn, but they play mostly online. They want to understand the game, and I teach them the game. But I always let them know and try to drive the point that playing offline, going out to your locals, meeting people, talking to others in your community, that's the most important thing to leveling up, to becoming better. um, Being in your room learning, yeah, I could teach you the game and I could tell you all these things, but at the end of the day, you only have me for X amount of time, whether it's an hour or more, and then the rest is like you are playing on your own until the next session, and so you might not know what to do. And of course, I give them the option to always message me between times and find out, hey, ask me questions about certain things. But I always thought you improve a lot better by A, either having a rival, or B, just having someone there that motivates you to get better. That's how I learned. I was placing seventh and eighth, and out of 12 people in our locals all the dang time, and I was tired of it, and I hated losing to certain people. I hated losing, and it was great because they didn't treat me different.